All right, let's talk about productivity, but probably not in the way you're used to. See, from an architect's perspective, we don't just look at how to do things. We look at the system design behind getting them done. And I'm telling you, the system most of us are running is fundamentally broken.
I'm sure you've told yourself this 1,000 times, right? If only I had more hours in the day. Or, I just need to get better with my calendar. We're all taught to believe that our lack of progress is some kind of personal failure, that we're just not good at wrestling with the clock.
And here's the absolute truth. The problem isn't your discipline. It's not your calendar app. The real issue is way, way deeper, and it's costing us a lot more than just wasted time.
The problem is architectural. The very system we use to define our work, to run our meetings, to collaborate, it's built on a foundation of, well, pure ambiguity. It's almost like it's designed to create friction instead of flow. And that friction? It has a massive, and I mean massive cost.
Yeah, $400 billion. That's the estimated price tag of unproductive meetings for businesses in the US alone every single year. This isn't just a rounding error, folks. It's a massive economic hole being burned by a terribly designed system.
So let's actually unpack that number. The best way to think about it is like a hidden tax on your entire organization and on you personally. It's the price you pay for ambiguity, the cost of being busy but not actually making any progress.
I mean, just look at these numbers. 18 hours a week. That's nearly half of a standard work week just sitting in discussions. And a third of that, a full 6 hours, is considered completely pointless. This isn't just a minor annoyance, it's a full-blown global epidemic that completely shatters the kind of deep focus we need to do real, meaningful work.
So what's the architectural pattern behind this massive failure? Why are so many meetings just so bad? Well, it all boils down to one thing: a structure that's built to create ambiguity, not clarity.
And just look at how these costs cascade. It's a chain reaction. It starts with that wasted time, right? 6 hours per person, adding up to $35 billion a year. That then turns into a salary drain of about $25,000 squandered per employee every single year. But then you get to the human cost. Morale just tanks, burnout goes through the roof, and your best people, they start polishing their resumes.
And you know what? The damage doesn't even stop when the meeting is over. There's this thing researchers call the meeting hangover. We've all felt it, right? It's that feeling of frustration, that cognitive fog that follows you back to your desk and just torpedoes your focus for hours. It's the tax that keeps on taxing.
So here's the most important point. Meetings themselves aren't the enemy. The real design flaw is the massive gap between talking and doing. It's the failure of our entire collaborative system to reliably turn an abstract conversation into concrete, physical, forward momentum.
So how do we fix this broken architecture? We need a simple, incredibly powerful pattern that acts as a linchpin, something that connects discussion directly to execution. And that linchpin is the next action. This is the core philosophy from David Allen, the guy who created the Getting Things Done, or GTD, methodology. The whole system is designed to get all those promises and to-dos out of your head and into a trusted system. Because your brain is amazing at having ideas, but it's a terrible office. Every little thing you're trying to remember is what Allen calls an open loop, a commitment that your brain just keeps poking you about, draining your focus. The goal is to close those loops. And this right here, this is the aha moment of the entire system. We all think in terms of these vague projects, right? Get the car serviced, plan the conference. They feel heavy, they're stagnant, because you have to do more thinking before you can do any doing. The architectural fix is this simple shift in language to a clear physical next action. Call Company X to schedule service. Email Arthur to get venue options. It is the absolute next physical thing you have to do to make progress.
Now, this next action idea isn't just some clever little trick. It's the output of a really robust workflow engine that's designed to take all that ambiguous chaos and process it into pure clarity every single time. So let's look at the architecture of that engine. This engine runs on a really simple 5-stage pipeline. First, you capture. Get everything, every idea, task, worry, out of your head and into an inbox. It's a raw data dump. Second, clarify. You go through each item and ask, is this actionable? If not, it's trash, reference, or maybe for later. If it is, you define that next action. Third, you organize. Put things where they belong, on your calendar, on project lists, on your next actions lists. Fourth, reflect. This is your weekly review, where you clean everything up and get current. It's your system maintenance. And finally, you engage. You just execute with total confidence, because you know you're working on the right thing, you trust the system. Okay, so this system is a game changer for individuals, but how do we install this as an operating system for an entire team? How do we build a flywheel of clarity that creates real organizational momentum?
Well, one of the most powerful tools for this is the agendas list. Instead of pinging your colleague on Slack with every random thought, you just capture it on a running list for that person. This cures a disease I like to call forwarditis. You know, where every FYI email is just a tiny interruption that shatters everyone's focus? Instead, you park it, and then you cover all the items at once in your next sync. It respects deep work and makes communication incredibly efficient.
And if you're a leader, you can literally architect better meetings tomorrow by using the script. At the end of every single agenda item, you have to force the decision. Ask these questions. What is the very next physical action required? Who is the single owner accountable for this? And my personal favorite, if we had to start this on Monday before coffee, what would we physically do? These questions absolutely murder ambiguity on the spot.
At the end of the day, this isn't about a fancy new app or some trendy productivity hack. It is a fundamental architectural shift in how you operate. It's a conscious decision to redesign your workflow and move from a state of just being busy to a state of being truly, deeply productive. So I'll leave you with this question. Think about that one thing that's been bugging you, that's causing that low-grade background anxiety, that open loop. What is the very next physical, visible action you could take to move it forward? Don't just think about it, define it. Write it down. That's your first step in redesigning your whole system. If you want to keep designing better systems, not just for your productivity, but for your entire career, there's a lot more where that came from. For more tech industry insights for your career or business, go to aaronwoobuilds.com or subscribe to this channel, link in description. Join the inner loop by getting in the email list. Let's level up our business and career from an architect's perspective.